It's time to talk hot stove baseball on the Baseball Talk Radio Show. We have a very special guest, Mr. Mark Littell, with us tonight. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Baseball Talk Radio Show, sponsored by BaseballTalkRadio.com, the home for great baseball radio shows. Gary Mack, how are you?
I'm great, Rich, and very excited about tonight.
Yes, indeed. What a great night to have a podcast. It's Friday night. The hot stove's cooking. A lot of movement out there. Some players signing with some new teams, and we have a very special guest with us tonight as well.
Yes, Rich, we are joined this evening by former Major League pitcher Mark Littell. Mark pitched for the Kansas City Royals and St. Louis Cardinals. And Mark, welcome to the Baseball Talk Radio Show.
Well, glad to be there, Gary and Rich. I'm looking forward to talking to New York a little bit tonight.
And Mark, you're a Missouri kid, born and raised, and you got to play for your two teams in your state. That must have been quite a thrill.
Well, it was actually kind of unexpected, I guess. It doesn't happen very often, and I really didn't when I got drafted. I sure didn't think Kansas City was going to draft me, and the scout that drafted me I knew pretty well in a sense because he kept I'd throw a no-hitter, and he'd come up and say, "Why didn't you do this?" or "Why didn't you do this?" or something like that. And he ended up being the '85 World Series pitching coach, and he only lived maybe 12 miles away from me, but he was a baseball guy. And so I went in the 12th round to Kansas City, and George Brett went in the second round, and we met up in Billings, Montana, and played rookie ball the first year in 1971. So it's a fun year.
Well, that must have been quite a thrill, meeting up with a future Hall of Famer. Did you notice that that when you met him, that he was going to be the star that he became?
Well, you knew one thing about George is that his skill level was extremely high. He's an ambidextrous, and he can throw a ball just about as well either way. And so he's got a split brain, you might say, literally also. But he's probably one of the loosest guys on a baseball field. I think back there in that era, and George played, 20 years. And I think if you ask anybody that had played against George, they would say, "Who do you think the loosest guy is on a baseball field?" And they'd say, they'd pause and they'd say, "Oh, it's got to be George Brett," because he was just very calm and relaxed when he hit. And he's the same way out in the field. And, he was a true third baseman. He started out in shortstop in rookie ball because he was a shortstop out of high school, but his legs are too thick to be the shortstop, and he was a natural third baseman. So it was real obvious. And the other thing is, you didn't want to play him in some of the games when you went into a bar after the game, and he's pretty darn good at just about anything he does. So. He's quite the athlete.
Mark, you were voted one of the top 100 Kansas City Royals players of all time by a website, and you were on the Royals for some really great years. 76 through 79, they made it to the ALCS. They didn't win, but what a magical time to be on a team. How do you attribute all the success that the Royals had during the time that you were on the team, and how did you become a closer in 1976?
Well, Ewing Kaufman was a great owner, and he was not afraid to spend a little bit and step outside the box. And he had, not many people remember this or not, but it was the Royals Academy, and they got a few ball players out of there, Frank White and a couple others, but Frank White they got out of there, and he was a mainstay for the Royals for a long time. And I know George George and I both did a visualization thing with Dr. Bill Harrison, who has some books out now, and he's done some stuff with a lot of baseball teams as well. I went from A ball to the big leagues because I was 20 years old when I went up at that time, and I didn't even go to big league camp. They didn't know what to do with me. I just applied it, and I wasn't even supposed to go to AAA, and I made the team on the last day, but I threw a 9-inning shutout, and I didn't give up a run. And so I went to Omaha and started in Denver, and they were trying to see if I could fail there because you went to launch pad. Mm-hmm. But I ended up winning, I think, that game, 3-1, and it was cold, and the ball flies like crazy in Denver, obviously. But I ended up 9-1 around June 9th, and they had to call me up, and so here comes this kid that they don't know anything about. Didn't go to big league camp, and he's 9-1 in AAA by that time. And I had my debut in Baltimore, and I did fine, and came back, and we went to Cleveland. And then I started the first game back against Oakland, who was going to win 3 out of 5 World Series at that time. And I found out what baseball was really about. I wasn't really ready at the time. And, there's a thing, in baseball, is this guy ready to win yet? Because when you go to the major league level, you're there to perform and win. And I coached almost 20 years in professional baseball at the minor league level. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to really develop those kids, and you've got to really get into them as far as letting them find out who they really are and what they can or cannot do. But you got to do it pretty quick because it's kind of a short reign. It really is.
And you mentioned coaching in the minor leagues, and as you say, it is a short reign. Where I live, we have the short season A-League in the Brooklyn Cyclones here, and I can remember, I love going to the games there and seeing the young prospects, but when you sit down and you really think about it, that 90% of these kids, this is their dream, and this is as far as it's going to go.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. You go out there and you have a 72 game schedule in rookie ball, and then you have 140 in A ball to AAA, and the 72 games is fine because we're all registered for that. The 140 game schedule, you find out what you're really made of, and the dog days really truly come in August, and so. You've got to eat right. You've got to do everything right to maintain between the lines. It's a big deal. But, I've coached and I've been a coordinator and hired and fired pitching coaches and stuff. And I tell you, it's, I've seen a kid travel from the West Coast to the East Coast in about 3 minutes in a meeting with about 20, 25 or so coaches and administrators in there. Somebody will bring up a point and I said, well, that's a good point. Does anybody disagree with that? Because maybe we do need to take him over here, and we'll just put him over on the east side, on the South Atlantic League, rather than the California League. So that's the fastest way I've ever seen, the jet flies. So, goes pretty fast.
Imagine.
Mark, you both in the Kansas Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. What did you find the differences in the National and American leagues, and did you favor pitching in either one more than the other?
Well, it really didn't matter. It was just when I got traded over, the manager was Vern Rapp, and he remembered me as a starter. And I had basically been closing at the time, and he wanted me to jump back into starting. And if I just had a great year, a closer, and to go from closer to starter, that's pretty tough to do. And So anyway, Burn didn't last very long, maybe 2 weeks, and I got 2 starts, and I did okay. You know, I did fine, but you know, King Boyer came in there and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, Country," he said, "Hey, you want to?" He said, "I'm gonna put you back as a closer. You all right with that?" And I said, "Yeah." So I closed the rest of the year, and I piled up a bunch of strikeouts. I think that year, 79 maybe was another year. It was a big strikeout year. But you know, I wasn't there really to strike out guys, but you know, that was one of the things that I did. I had a pretty good slider. I had a pretty good fastball, and I pretty much come right at you. So
Yeah,
I didn't want to be out there over 3 or 4 minutes on the mound. The game's going to be over in 3 or 4 minutes. So, let's go.
Yeah, I'm looking at your first year stats with St. Louis was 1978. You had 130 strikeouts and didn't give up much. You'd never gave up too many home runs in any point in your career. That's one of your calling cards there. You did not give up the long ball.
You know, when I first came up, when I was really young, I gave up some long balls, and then you know, once I got the feel for what was going on, and they found out where I was best at. I was kind of a natural fit right there, and Whitey, when we were in '76, he didn't know what to do with me. We were in the first series actually playing in Baltimore on the road. Third game in, I had had a great spring training, and we had an owner lockout actually, and but I made the team and I threw well. And Whitey came up to me on the third game. I think we'd blown a save or something. And, but I wasn't the closer right there for the first 2 games. The third game, I became the closer. And he said he was going to stretch me out. And so I threw 4 innings, 4 and a third innings actually, and picked up a win. And I think I gave up a couple of hits, a couple of walks, no runs. And Reggie was playing for Baltimore that one year that he went over to the Yankees. The next year, between Oakland and Kansas City, and the Yankees rather. So he was there, and it wasn't a big deal, but they Baltimore always puts a pretty good team out, and then but to be a closer, you pretty much got to have about a 3 to 5 IQ out there to go between the line. So you want to have as much amnesia as you can, and just let's go. And I had fun. I had fun between the lines. I did.
Now,
one of the few places I could relax actually.
Now, Mark, of course, I don't want to bring up a bad memory, but 1976 American League Championship Series.
Right.
One bad pitch to Chris Chambliss cost you guys the pennant. Take us through that inning a little bit, and how did you deal with that? I mean, was it a crushing blow, or as you say, the amnesia just set in?
Well, it was kind of crushing. I'd only given up 1 home run the whole year, and that was the furthest thing from my mind. And it went out about 2.5 feet, and I know it was cold as all get out that night. The wind was blowing. You could see the clouds above the Yankee Stadium. They were kind of white clouds moving kind of fast. And, I threw a fastball up, and it was almost to where you wouldn't swing at it, but he did. And he hit it high up in the air, and I thought, that's not going to go out. And I said, it's like, I don't think it's going to go out. And all of a sudden it went out. Then the fans went on the field, and I think Chambliss maybe got around to second and figured he couldn't make it to third or home, and he had tried to head back into the dugout. And I had watched the ball go out, and I had stood there for 4 or 5 seconds. And when I turned around, and I was just about to step onto the grass, and there was already people on the mound. Nobody had touched me though. It was pretty amazing. But there was a big crowd out there. And then I went right between New York's finest up the tunnel. One guy shuffled me in and took me by the arm, and I was one of the last guys out. And then, so there was, I must have had 2,000 cops back there or something, but they had a big long line. And so it was pretty interesting. And then they brought the horses out, I heard. So they were going to have some fun. I went right back to the shower and didn't want to talk to anybody. I went in there and just put shower on me. There was 3 or 4 guys with me, and Gail and Whitey came in, and Amos Otis and Dave Nelson, and they were back there with me. And you know, it was a little bit of a shocker for me. And I was young. I was 23, and so that was the furthest thing from my mind was a home run.
Yeah, and especially at that age.
And then it's not the funny thing, but the funny thing is the next year, they make those schedules. Back then they did. It was a husband and wife came out of Boston that made the schedules. They made them 3 years in advance. It's because of the stadiums. They might have a concert when somebody's on the road, and they fix the whole schedule. So we were playing the Yankees right off the bat when we were our home opener. We played in Detroit, and we had won all 3 games there. I picked up a save in Detroit, and then Splittorff was pitching, and we were opener. We were jammed for the opener, and especially when you play the Yankees. So I think Split went 9, and I came in and I threw 4 more. And I gave up no hits through 4 and picked up a win. We finally, it was a tie ball game, and I picked up the win that night. And so I guess life continues. So that's you're always dealing with adversity, and people say, "Well, it must be hard under all that pressure." I never looked at it as a pressure thing. I just enjoyed the game, and I was more set on trying to get the guy out and having some fun doing it. And you're totally into the game then. I mean, if you're looking around the park or something like that, you notice certain players doing that, and they struggle with that a little bit, and it takes a little while. It takes a little time to get your feet wet, but as I said, at that point, you're at the major league level. You're there to win. And they say, is this guy ready to win for us? So, and to what capacity can we use him? Nowadays, you have to have an incredible bullpen to win a World Series and things of that nature. You have to have those bullpen guys. Some teams build their teams around a closer. I've seen that, heard that said a lot. Even back when I was going in. Whitey said, if I haven't got a bullpen and a closer, he says, you can pretty much kiss it goodbye. You haven't got anything. Because the game's changed, and especially now the game has changed so much with guys going 6 or 7 innings, and they don't get those big innings, anymore.
Exactly.
Well, we're very happy to have you on the show tonight here on the Baseball Talk Radio Show. We're only 4 days away from the release of your upcoming book. It's called On the Eighth Day, God Made Baseball. And you can find that book at Amazon.com. By the time you listen to this podcast, you can either pre-order it, or probably by the time you're hearing this show, it'll be available for sale. And it looks like you got a foreword by Whitey Herzog, and Chris Chambliss wrote a little commentary. Could you walk us through your book a little bit?
Yeah. Well, people had always wanted me to write a book because I have a little bit different sense of humor than some guys. I grew up in southeast Missouri, and I grew up on a soybean cotton farm. And my brother caught me. He's a year younger, and he played at Mississippi State, and he got drafted twice, and he chose not to play. He didn't want to play, matter of fact. And so that was good. Eric caught me, and growing up a farm, you're pretty mischievous, so the book starts out pretty much with my first at bat, and I was only 6. And it's everybody asks me, they say, "Is this a biography?" And I says, "No way, I'm not writing a biography. This is a lot different than most baseball books. This is kind of the life story of it's a good life." A guy has read. I wrote 3 books actually. because I'm ADD as hell. And I didn't know when to stop. And I never written, and I didn't know. And it's pretty funny because I didn't know when to stop. And the people who edited it, they said, you know, you write just like Mark Twain. And I said, well, he's a crazy son of a bitch out of Missouri too. And so they carried my voice into it, as you know, and I carried my Southeast Missouri twang in there and a little bit. And so it's a real good read because you're not reading about my biography. You're reading about what a kid thinks growing up on a farm. And then he's going through high school, and he's going through rookie ball, and he's going through A ball, then he goes to the big leagues, and he gets traded. And then you get the stories that are funny as hell. So they're all kind of goofy. I got one. Well, there's a free chapter in there called Blue Angel, and that's where I knocked an umpire out. And it's really funny because we thought the catcher was going to get kicked out. Was in AAA, and you know the catcher said, he said, "Country, you just throw up my mask. That's all I want you to do." I said, "Well, okay." And I said, "What about Roe Skidmore?" And he says, "I'll take care of Roe. I know Roe." He said he always takes first pitch anyway. Well, we thought it would hit the umpire in the mask and Pappy get kicked out because he was putting marks down in the dirt. And he would say to the umpire, he said, "Yeah, George, you missed another one." And so anyway, with 2 outs, he came out there to me, and we were playing Indianapolis, and basically that team was half of their big red machine for the next year because he had Armbrister, Foster, Griffey, Knight, Youngblood. You had all these guys out there, and they were a good team. And that was the year that I was 9-1, you know, at June anyway. And so anyway, sure enough, Papke, you know, he didn't even give me a sign. He's just like, you know, with the back of his hand in his glove, like he's backing up a truck, says, "Let's go." And so I just got her wound up and let her fly. And Roe had okayed it with Papke. Pap said, "Hey, Roe, let the first one go." Well, he says, "Hey, no problem." You know, the umpire didn't hear him. So he let it go. And sure enough, it hits the umpire in the mask, but it hit him right under the mask. And so he goes back and he gets knocked out. And he's like, the other 2 guys hadn't come up in AAA because you got 3 in AAA umpires. You got 2 in AA and down. And so I went up kind of walking fast, and Pappy says, "Look, he's a snow angel." And I said, "No, he's not. He's a blue angel." and so they didn't know what was going on. But it's a great story because there's a lot more to it after I knocked him out. And I mean, I came out on the upside, but it's funny. And then I knocked an old lady out in Cleveland. You know, they had over 60,000 in the ballpark that night. They never had 60,000. They had that twice a year. It was July the 3rd. And both teams we were going somewhere else on the 4th, back home, I think. And actually, the other team was out of town. And so the 3rd was actually like their 4th. So they'll have the fireworks. But they were also giving away a car every inning just to try to get, you know, people in there. So they had 60,000, you know, raving idiots out there. So it was pretty funny because you would normally go into Cleveland's, that big ballpark at Memorial Stadium, and it was just like nobody was there, like ants, you know. So I had a ball slip on my hand, warm it up in the bullpen. There's no way you could possibly throw it out of the bullpen, first of all. Yeah, but I guess I did find a way, and I didn't mean to let it. It sailed right up in the crowd, and our bullpen was just basically full of crap in about 5 seconds. And, you know, on the other side, our dugout was caddy corner opposite. They could see what was going on. And Galen Cisco, he called down and he said, what the hell's going on down there? And he said, and Doug Bird said, he said, "Well, I think Country just drilled somebody. They're just all pissed off down here." So it's pretty good. There's a lot more to that too. So the safest place for me to be was actually out on the mountain pitching. Let's put it that way.
Sounds like a great book. I can't wait to read it myself. On the 8th day, God made baseball. And this game is not perfect, but how do you think of all the changes that have came about to the game in the last year or two with the instant replay and things like that, as compared to when you were a player in the Major League Baseball?
Well, I like the game. I like a straight game. I don't like a DH really. I mean, I really like the National League where the guy has to really manage the baseball team. And, you got there's a little bit to more of a National League ball game than there is an American League game. They got the turf. I don't mind the turf because I played on the turf too. But you know what? The funny thing was I came up in 1971 and the mound was 18 inches when I came up, and 2 years later it was 15 inches. And 2 years later it was 12 inches. And a year or two later it was 10 inches. So I was on all four different type mounts, sizes. And it's kind of interesting. That was a big change in a matter of 6 or 7, about 7 to 8 years, let's put it that way. It went really fast. And then the turf came. Oh, not much happened for a while. Umpires were going to make their mistakes. And, of course, now you can't really throw at anybody. When I played, you could, drill somebody, and it was, we'd fight, or thing about it was, okay, we're even. Okay, let's go on and play ball. So, now they make a real big deal out of it. And, and now you got the instant replay. But it shows that umpires are really wrong. I don't know what the percentage is. I never really wanted to pay too much. I know it does slow the game down. They talk about the speed up rules in baseball, but they're slowing it down with the instant replay. I know the kid lost the no hitter to the umpire about 4 years ago, where he called him the runner safe, and he was actually out. But that's where instant replay would have come in handy, I guess. But I don't know. I just like the traditional game itself. You don't want to lose some of that tradition. Everything's real finite. But I think to salvage the fan, whatever you got to do, because I know I have 2 teams in Arizona, college teams, and I have 2 other teams, an 18 and a 16. And I'm not in Arizona right now, but there's kind of a burnout factor out here. And then the Diamondbacks, they don't draw for crap out here. I mean, they have, it's all television and things of that nature. And
right.
You want to get those people out to the ballpark so, they can have a good time. And the one thing I noticed is also minor league ball, that's a lot of fun to see a minor league game, because there's always something happening between the innings, and I don't think you can do that so much with a major league venue, but minor league ball is fun to watch because there's something every inning, and there's a lot of giveaways and things of that nature. That's kind of a hard call because, you got this plate thing coming up, and, if you have an electronic plate, photosynthesize, it's a photomatic, and ball or strike, kind of interesting. That would be kind of interesting to actually test that, just to see what the pitchers and what the hitters' reactions would be to that. But I don't know. It's a technology world right now. It's pretty techy out there.
That's for sure.
And there's a lot of guys getting into there's a lot of different changes in the visualization. That's one of the reasons I went, was the visualization, and I took the time to slow my brain down. That did help. I think they have a lot more Tommy Johns nowadays than they ever had. I think the kids are strong, but I don't think the kids, their tensile strength in their joints isn't as strong for some reason, because I know we used to turn wrenches and put, plow points on, mow lawns and things that we used our hands, and I grew up on a farm, but all guys back in that era used their hands. And, if your dad said, go do this, you did it. You didn't balk at it. My dad was a Marine. He got shot all to hell. I wasn't dare going to bark at my dad. So that was not going to happen. My mom was a registered nurse, there for me, my brother Eric and I if Dad got out of hand. So, so we grew up on a soybean cotton farm out in the middle of nowhere. So pretty much the way it was.
What?
But I don't know, it's just a lot of Tommy Johns, and there's a lot more, and they're putting more emphasis on, you know, strength and conditioning, and they talk about baseball specific, and you know they want to talk about quantum physics and things of that nature. Well, Jesus Christ, all you got to do is throw the damn ball all over the plate, you know, and you know if you're too smart, you're not going to be a baseball player. I mean, you got to have a little bit of a lunacy about yourself. I mean, it's.
Mark, do you think that these guys don't throw enough, or is there too much emphasis on pitch counts now, and compared to your day when guys would consistently go 8 innings, 9 innings, 7 innings, now they seem to go 5 or 6 and they're out of there. Is that good for the game, do you feel, or is it good for the pitchers?
Well, here's the thing. I'm out here in Arizona too. I know you're hearing people say, "Oh, you need to throw more." Well, but a lot of these kids, there's a lot of coaches that don't know how to teach how to throw. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I mean, I'm sitting here, and you're getting teams out here in Arizona. There's a big burnout state, you know, but you'll get a second baseman, and they'll start throwing 200 feet out with a right fielder. And I know you don't have to throw that far out, you know. To get velocity, you're changing your mechanics anyway. But you'll hear guys in high schools and they'll say, "Well, we're using San Francisco Giants throwing program." I said, "Well, that's really good. I don't see any major leaguers out here, to tell you the truth, though, because they're breaking a lot of arms too. Mm-hmm. You know, because these kids are techie, so they're on the couch doing Xbox. The strongest part of these kids nowadays are their thumbs. You know,
yeah, it's true.
It is not their arm." And, you know, and then the coach it's pretty laughable. You know, they would rather walk out there and talk about hitting rather than trying to catch and throw a baseball, which is more important than trying to hit a baseball, actually. You know, tell you the truth.
I guess that's the influence of the designated hitter in the philosophy of baseball nowadays.
Well, it's, you know, I don't see too many short swings, you know, even in college. You know, everybody says so-and-so did this. Well, he better get a short swing or he's not going to be catching up to some of this stuff. You know, mm-hmm. I mean, they just don't get technique. And, you know, because if you watch a Major League Baseball game, they make a hell of a lot of mistakes. Yeah. I mean, not everybody says, "Well, you're old school." No, I'm not old school. I'm really on the game because I was in the game as a coach. You know, and you know, we expect them to throw to the right base and hit the cutoff man. You know, and it's like the kid the other day in the World Series. The center fielder came in and he wanted the ball, so he ran the left fielder off, which was right because the left fielder's got a weaker arm in a sense. And then the center fielder was there, and what he did is he caught the ball, he dropped his glove, he dropped his arm, and he came back up to throw. And, you know, the guy made it safe. Well, he should have kept his glove up and arm up to throw, and then he would have maybe had a better chance of getting the guy. So he took out 7/10 of a second up. That's a lot of time. Yeah, that's a lot of time. And a lot of people didn't catch that. Matter of fact, I brought it up to my team last night when we were playing. I said, "Did anybody see that?" And they said, "Yeah." And they said, "That's why they scored that run." It's just simple stuff. It's just fundamentally simple. So, you know, it's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing you've made simple is that you've developed a nice cup, so to speak. And Gary has a video to show our viewers whenever he's ready to roll that tape.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fun. You ready? Yeah. Fire in the hole. 3, 2, 1.
For audio listeners, you I didn't get a chance to see that, but
Feel any?
Mr. Littell just stood in front of a 90-mile-an-hour fastball aimed at this Nutty Buddy invention that he made. And why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that, Mark?
Well, I was behind the Nutty Buddy, literally. So, and then, no, I just decided to crank a machine up one day and test my Nutty Buddy out because the way it was designed, and I built it with domes and it's anatomically correct, so it fits right. And I've got a new one out called Flex. That's really nice too, and I can still take a shot at 90 in that as well. But no, I was actually horsing around with my pitchers when I was coaching with the Dodgers one day, and I said, I'm just having fun eating them out a little bit. And one of the guys said to me, we're talking about the cup, and I said, how many wear a cup? And about half of them. And I said, yeah, that's about right. I've seen a couple guys lose them, before, because if you're going to be in baseball long enough, you're going to see something happen really bad. And so anyway, one of the guys said, hey, Country, why don't you just invent one? I said, well, screw you, I think I will. So I went in the trainer's room and got 2 golf balls and molded one up, form balls function. And so I brought it out the next day and I said, here, what do you think of that? And he said, oh, that's pretty cool. I said, you should probably patent that. And I said, nah, they got something similar to this, surely. Well, about a month later, I said, well, maybe I'll just check. And I did. I got a patent lawyer, and they sent it away for a patent search, and it came back clean as all get out. And so I asked the patent lawyer, I said, well, what do you do now? And he says, it's money time. So, anyway, so I've got 5 sizes: Hammer Boss, Hog, Trophy, Mongo. That's how they sell them. There's no small. You don't want to go up to a checkout counter with a good-looking chick up there with a small, So you're going to be wearing a Hog or something. And, oh, what's the Hog? Oh, it's big guy stuff.
Big guy. And Mark, so that's available at nuttybuddy.com.
Yeah, our Battle Sports, Science, and we're licensed through them. They're like Nike or Under Armour. It's the same thing. And I think we have some cups in some Dick's stores right now. I know you can buy online all the time, but yeah, it's a real good cup. We even have one for we have one that has been tested out as for the Army, for the Marines, and it'll catch a 9mm, and they're trying to actually talk me out of that shot. But I've been to the test where it catches it. But the worst thing I've ever done, which was really stupid, because I'm almost 64. 2 years ago, I rode a bull, because bull riders wear my cup. It's just not a baseball cup.
Mm-hmm.
Mixed martial arts, lacrosse, hockey, anybody that's got a pair needs a Nutty Buddy. So anyway, I'm just saying, I rode a bull named Playboy, and I got on Playboy and I was thumping, Playboy's ears, and the guy said, you don't have to piss the bull off. He's already pissed off if you're on him. And I said, yeah, I guess so. So about a half a second before, I grew up on a farm, but I didn't ride. I rode horses and stuff. We didn't have any bulls, and I probably wouldn't have ridden a bull, but I just wanted to do it with a Nutty Buddy. And so we were going to shoot a video, and then I did. So you can go on YouTube and go to Nutty Buddy bull riding and see me get my pubic bone cracked with a free slam. Being bull slamming around really hard to the ground. So it's pretty amazing.
Nutty Buddy.
Don't go riding any bulls tonight.
No, I don't think you're going to find us out riding bulls tonight.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, this is great. The book comes out in 4 days, as Rich said earlier. And on the 8th day, God created baseball. And you said you wrote 2 other books. Will they be coming out in a reasonably short amount of time as well?
Well, that's to be determined. I'm not really supposed to say, but we'll try to have them out, maybe by the first, baseball. I've already written those. I've already got them edited, one of them anyway. Mm-hmm. And then the other one's pretty easy to put together, but I didn't know I could write, I guess. But, Whitey liked it. Chris Chambliss talked about the Big Bang Theory, not a theory, because he's got comments in there. And Denny Matthews, the announcer for the Royals, he's almost got 50 years in. He wrote a really nice bullet in there about, this really truly lands in the strike zone. And Jim Wolford said, you'll laugh your ass off, so get the book. And Davey Nelson, I played with Dave, and he's an announcer with Milwaukee as well. And he didn't know I, could write like that. Well, of course I didn't either. So, but I wrote the book. I mean, there's a lot of players that, co-author books, but I wrote this one, and, it was fun. It was just kind of relaxing for me actually to write the thing.
So look at all these talents you're discovering now. You're an inventor. You're an author. What's next?
Right. I'll run for president next time. I don't think so. So anyway, but it's fun. Looking into a lot of different things. I've been around. I coached in Australia 4 years, and I knew the crocodile man, Steve Irwin, before he got big, and he kind of liked me, and he brings silly stuff up to me. Hey, Yank, look at this. And then I was over in Panama, and that's probably got to be the hottest place I've ever coached at all. And Dominican and Puerto Rico, and I hung with the Aborigines. They were barefooted, and so was I. They really liked me when I went barefooted at night with them. So, country boy,
Yeah. Now, will you be taking the book on the road and making appearances around the country?
Yeah, I plan to do some of that. I sure do. And I'm trying to set some of those things up right now. And social media is big for me, and I try to get my name out there as much as I can. And you would like to think the book will sell itself, but I think everything needs a push. It's all about marketing. It's the same thing with anybody. But I think people will read my book and they'll like it. It's a very fun read. So it's just me. It's basically me talking, and and there's some funny things that happened in the '60s when you're a little guy and in baseball, and high school. First pitch I ever threw in high school. I knocked my first hitter out. I threw the first pitch and knocked him out colder than a wedge, and it split his helmet. And my brother was catching me. He didn't go around. He stepped over him. He fell in front of the plate. He didn't fall behind the plate. He hit him so hard. He fell forward. So Eric stepped over him and didn't go around him. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. He came out to me and talked to me. So it's fun.
Thank you very much for joining us on tonight's show, Mark, and best of luck with the book. And of course, the Nutty Buddy, you can check both of those out at Amazon.com. And why don't you let our listeners know where they can find you on social media as well?
Well, I have Facebook stuff that I have, and I'm a little bit all over the Facebook because they have a Major League Baseball sites, they have the minor league baseball sites, they have the book sites, and a lot of people have started doing a little bit of viral stuff for me, and I really appreciate that. And a lot of people have read the free chapter, and they really liked it, and they said that sounds like you, and I said, yeah, that's me. So but it's that's what I try to do, is just touch base with as many people, with as many phones and whatever else they can get to. And I like doing the podcast with you guys. It's been wonderful, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been wonderful, talking to you guys.
Well, it's our pleasure, Mark. And again, as Rich said, good luck with the book. And I hope that maybe we'll see you if you come to New York area. We can say hi and pick up an autograph copy of the book.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have some fun. We'll get it out there, and they're all true stories. That's the fun thing about it. There's no makeups on this one. So, but it's
okay.
Fun, so.
Well, thanks again so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, Mark.
Gary, Rich, I enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Okay. Have a good evening now.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mark Littell there, a former major league pitcher, one of the best closers, one of the closers that you may not have heard of, especially if you're a younger guy. A Kansas City Royal blog has him as one of the 20 top best closers ever. And I vaguely remember him as a young adult watching the Cardinals a little bit. But yeah, I've got a newfound respect for Mark Littell there. What a great pitcher he was. Didn't give up many home runs either, Gary.
Yeah, Rich, and shame of it is his career ended at the age of 29. He had bone spurs. Now they now it wouldn't be that big a deal. They could operate on something like that. And of course, in his era, they probably didn't operate, or we should have really asked him about that, what the situation was. But yeah, he had a good career, 32 and 31 lifetime record, winning losses. So got to pitch in the playoffs a couple of times. Really had a full career, and as he said, he coached for a number of years. So really, as you say, one of the top closers in his era, and it sounds like a really fun book. And I hope everybody will go out and take a look at On the Eighth Day, God Created Baseball by Mark Littell. And check it out at Amazon, as Rich said, and I think you can also purchase it at his website, marklittell.com. So go check it out. And with the holidays coming up, Rich, and we're in the hot stove time here, it's a good thing to pick up for the baseball fan in your family.
Yes, indeed. We all know who they are, the listeners. Great gift idea, as Gary just said. So run out there and pick it up. Great read, the city area. Of course, as we were saying, one of the best eras ever of Kansas City baseball. He was only 23 in 76. Went on to lose the league championship 3 years in a row. They lost the World Series in 1980 against my favorite, the Philadelphia Phillies. Nothing they could do about that. But, that was one of their best times. Some of these teams only have that period that they're real good for 5, 6 years, maybe if you're lucky. And then it gets, possibly back to mediocrity for a few years. So
yeah,
great to talk with him.
They had a good run there, Rich, and I'm always astounded when I talk to a former player like that, because he mentions guys like, they're nothing, and we're like, yeah, I played with George Brett, and yeah, Chris Chambliss hit a home run off. It's always amazing to me as a fan that hey, I'm talking to a guy that threw a pitch in a World Series here. I always find that intriguing and amazing, and this is what we're trying to do, folks. Here at Baseball Talk Radio and the Baseball Talk Radio Show, we're trying to bring these people to you, and former major league pitcher. We got some authors that are coming out with new books and have had books out. So please subscribe on YouTube or on the audio on what is it? iTunes. I can't even think right now. Please go check out baseballtalkradio.com. Lots of great podcasts there, independent podcasts. Just almost like 30 teams we got covered. There's 30 podcasts, and we're closing in on all the teams. It's just a great site, and you can catch shows live. I mean, it's just fantastic. So go check out baseballtalkradio.com and tune in and subscribe to the Baseball Talk Radio Show, because that's what we're here for, Rich, right? All winter, we're going to be here talking baseball.
Yes, indeed. And stop by our Patreon site. You can become a listener sponsor of the show. Just a couple of bucks a month. We're trying to get some different hosting together, things like that. Helps us out getting the guests. So if you enjoy the show, we'd appreciate you going over to patreon.com/baseball talk, and you can find our page there. Well, Gary, we're going to wrap up tonight's show here. We're going to talk a little hot stove on the next edition, some big signings to mention, and can't wait for the next show.
Hello.